This is the Film Geeks podcast.
It's about time, guys, that we discussed anything TV related on this show. And I thought last week, since we spoke about 13 Reasons Why, and all of us have watched the show and to various degrees of liking or disliking, which we'll find out recently, because I haven't spoken to the both of you as how you found the show. Let's speak about and let's kind of do a mini review of the show called 13 Reasons Why. And to help us out, we have a very special guest, Riabaki, who has been a part of this podcast previously as well. He was part of the Sherlock podcast and he was a part of the Rogue One review as well, both of which you can find out on the channel. Just go to our previous videos and you can check that out as well. So we would like to welcome Riabaki from the Indian Nerve stable. Welcome to the show, Riabaki. It's been a while.
Hey, thanks, Abhishek. Yeah, I'm sorry I've been away for a while, but I'm glad to be back. And at the same time, a little depressed because of the subject matter which we are about to talk about.
And for people who have not watched this show, let me just give you a brief rundown of what it is. 13 Reasons Why, of course, is based on the 2007 novels of the same name by J. Asher. The first season consisted of 13 episodes. It's all on Netflix. And all of this was released worldwide on March 31st, 2017. The show, in fact, revolves around a student called Hannah Baker who kills herself after a series of culminating failures brought onto her by select individuals within their school. It was originally conceived as a film set to be released by Universal Pictures with Selena Gomez in the lead role. She even herself, in fact, went out of her way to put the adaptation. And she said, like, let's adapt this as a Netflix series, which was, in fact, in hindsight, a great move. And she herself serves as an executive producer for the show. And as I said last week, Dylan Minnette and Kathleen Langford in her debut role served as the lead characters on the show. Let's start with you, Riabaki. What did you think about 13 Reasons Why?
First of all, I'll say that this is a good show, a very good show indeed. But I will also say that it's the type of show that you only watch once. For example, I can watch Fargo season 1, season 2. I can keep watching them over and over again. And maybe the same goes with Game of Thrones. But regarding this show, it's definitely just a one time only, right? So I would say that it is 50% entertainment and 50% public awareness. It follows a very gradual storyline format and it builds to a conclusively memorable ending, memorable within quotes. My feelings for this show actually polarize, from disturbing and traumatizing to beautiful, at times cliched, important and relevant. I'll say why it's good because it is a teen drama. And what we get from there are a lot of teen movies out there, right? And some of them maybe fall short of on delivering what they want to deliver. But this show has 13 hours, give or take, of time to tell its stories. So, in my opinion, that is where it works. But at the same time, take my advice with a grain of salt because, as I said, it can be traumatizing and disturbing.
For me, it was finally the young adult genre getting its due. Like we had discussed earlier, I think the young adult genre has gotten a very bad vibe ever since Twilight came out. It has been associated with very bad sci-fi concepts which have already been used, just rehashing concepts. I think the last proper young adult movie that we saw was Easy A, and just before that there was Juno. Shows like this and movies like those are the benchmark of what young adults should be like angst done right. And we should thank Selena Gomez for being the executive producer and helping, just her name tag, I think, was enough for Netflix to finally greenlight it. What I really liked was the first 2 episodes and the last 2 episodes. Like I told you guys, we had discussed earlier as well. There are pacing issues with this show, but that doesn't take away the message from this show. It's a very well written, very well researched, and Abhishek has also mentioned that it goes out of its way to put diversity forward, and I like the way in which they brought diversity in. It wasn't forced, it felt very natural to the story that they were telling. The first 2 episodes for me were the best episodes from the entire season, mainly because I saw that the director who was attached to it was Tom McCarthy. If you don't know who Tom McCarthy is, he's the Oscar-winning director for the movie Spotlight. and that is how you will see the gradual change in tone and the it'll feel like you're watching a different show when you're watching third episode, because it just doesn't seem to go with the first two episodes. The pacing is totally off. So that put me off for quite a bit.
Yeah, if the third episode put you off, I wonder how the later episodes worked on.
Right. No, it put me off due to very technical reasons, not because of the story that they were saying. The pacing was very bad for me, at least just up till the 11th maybe. But I really liked how it ended so strong in the 12th and the 13th. For me, it would be totally different reasons why I wouldn't watch it again. It's just because it's very traumatizing. I wouldn't want to go through things like that again. For similar reasons, I don't watch American History X. And I shared with you guys how I drew parallels to the tone of what this show tried to do and what American History X also tried to do. But that had more to do with race than this had to do with bullying. This might be a bit of spoiler, but really isn't, because the lead character from the synopsis itself, we know that she's dead. And obviously, what I really liked is that they did not shy away from showing that, how she died. Normally in a young adult movie, they would hide it from the kids literally, but over here they do not give a shit. They want you to see what a person goes through when they're committing a suicide. And the last time I saw something this harrowing was in a French movie called Martyrs, which was an out-and-out horror movie. This one also, I did not expect it to be this graphic, but they went there, and I was very glad that they did, because for series which had such a strong message, they needed strong visuals, and I'm very glad they went through all that. The last time I was this traumatized watching a suicide scene in a movie was in Shawshank Redemption, and that red was here scene. I think this show needs more viewers, and from what I'm seeing online, I guess that show is getting all the accolades that it needs.
If you look on IMDb right now, currently the rating is like 9 point something or 9 plus. Okay, based on 38,000 reviews. However, I feel that maybe as time goes by, it will go down, right? I mean, it is a good show, but at the same time, it does fall short, as you said, pacing, also the dramatic and very graphical content, and at the same time, I fear that it might get old pretty quickly. I don't feel that this show will really stand the test of time as far as content goes. Obviously, people will look back in time and say that it is a good show, but not really as exceptional as a 9.1 rater would suggest. What do you guys think of that?
Just to add an addendum to whatever Riabaki said, I don't think IMDb ratings are indicative of what a show or a film's quality is. I'm sure, yeah, at most times it gives you a direction kind of where the quality lies. Also, I think this is a show for the times. For the setting that we are in, for the political climate and for the cultural climate that we are in, I think for that, this show deserves a 9.1 or maybe even higher. Yes, granted, the show will get dated over time. It's not a Breaking Bad. It's not a Wire. It's not a Sopranos. It's not one of these shows which will stand the test of time. This is a testament of the current day and age that kids nowadays are going through. And of course, this also captures in a nutshell what we went through when we were in school. I mean, the three of us at least, Arindam, I and Riabaki, we grew up in an environment very similar to what Hannah Baker grows up in, because you had to be of a certain mold, you had to fit in with the in crowd, otherwise you were fucking bullied all the time. So for those things, it completely hit home for me personally.
So I'm not going to go very differently on all of what all of you said. This is a one-time watch, not because of how good the show is or how good it isn't, because it is a very good show, but because of the topic in question. And this is a topic that is actually plaguing a lot of children nowadays, and so it becomes very relevant for the age. And as far as I've seen, a lot of young adults are actually connecting their own emotions to this TV series, which makes it very real for them, which is why you're seeing such a huge spike in ratings on IMDb. IMDb is crowdsourced at the end of the day. There have been a lot of detractors against the movie, but if you watch, the TV series, but if you watch it, one thing you'll realize is in the beginning of the show, the reasons they start as very whimsical, and you don't understand why. When we watch the first episode itself, it's not really a valid reason why somebody would end their life. But as the episodes roll on, and you see that she is losing her support system one by one, and it starts to make sense. So in that sense, I understand the pacing issue is there, and I felt that too. It's like when you reach the seventh episode, you're wondering why the show is feels very different and why is it so slow in that regard, and it could have been wrapped up in much lesser time. But obviously, this is a TV series that was not bound by any budget constraints, so they had to make each episode an hour long. Hence the issues that you just spoke about. But then again, we see each of those support systems breaking down one by one, and it's painted very nicely, and you understand in the end what's happening to that girl. And Katie Langford, she's done a fantastic job. She's a New Zealander, and this is her first role, and for that I'll actually give her props for this because she did a fantastic job. Dylan Minnetty has also been fantastic in his role. He plays the longing for that girl to perfection, and I think that's actually that people can relate to with children nowadays, no matter which age you are. Even if you were a kid, you can relate to this, and because you went through something very similar. Schools are a very tough place to be, and if you're not in the correct environment, or say the correct group, so as to say, then school life can be really tough, and we saw that happening in the series, and it happens so gradually that by the end of it, you're really involved in the whole thing, and you understand what's happening. That's why it's a very important TV series. There have been a lot of questions about some people saying that this is not a correct, accurate portrayal of depression or mental health. But I'll actually say to those detractors that no one person actually suffers mental anguish the same way. So this is a portrayal of one of those cases. So it doesn't have to fit into your idea of what mental anguish is. So in that case, it is a very accurate depiction. So you should let that be. What it shows away is not about that girl's problems. What it shows is how she didn't have any support system, which is why she was forced to take that extreme step. In that sense, it is a fantastic TV series, and this is something that everybody should watch because it is sort of like Riabaki had said, it's sort of like a public service announcement. There's a very important line that is there. Children are cruel without realizing that they're cruel. And that is what actually happens in real life too. Nobody is as mean as most movies portray them to be. You're very subconsciously mean. You don't realize it and you don't mean it most of the time, but you just are. And how it affects other people is not in your control. But sometimes it does affect them very harshly. And people have problems because of that. And that is something that we have to be more cognizant of. And that is what this TV series is all about. And I'm glad that this got made. I'm not sure whether there will be a second season though, because there have been no talks as of yet. Abhishek, do you have any idea whether there is a second season?
There are no talks of the second season, although the internet is divided whether they want a second season or not, because there have been a lot of open endings there, because there were a lot of plot points. We'll try not to get into spoiler territory here, ladies and gentlemen, but there have been a lot of plot points which have been left unaddressed. So for that, people kind of need closure because of the day and age that we live in. Everyone wants everything to end with a nice bow on the top. But I don't really think that there needs to be a second season. This is Hannah Baker's story. This is not anyone else's story. Her story has ended, and I hope that this story has ended on such a high that let's leave it there. We don't really need to get into what happens to Bryce's character, or what happens to Tony's character, or what happens to Justin's character, or how even the Baker family deals with the whatever happens at the end. We don't really need to know that. It just ended on a very perfect note, and let's just leave it at that. And speaking about perfection, let's speak about the acting. Because the acting, I thought, especially for a cast such as is so young as this, we haven't really seen a lot of these actors in very name shows before. Let's speak about the acting, please, because I thought the acting was brilliant in this. With a lot of great TV right now, we have a lot of great shows, a lot of great actors, top-notch actors acting in the smaller screen. I don't really think that this TV show, like it happened with Stranger Things last year, that these actors will get the recognition that they deserve, and they should, because these guys were fan-fucking-tastic, especially Catherine Langford as who plays Hannah Baker, the main character of the show. For a debutante, she was incredible, and even Dylan Minnette, he is at the top of his game. This was an incredibly acted film.
The acting in this show was top notch indeed. I mean, a lot of these actors, I never heard of them before, except for, as you said, Dylan Minnette, and Ross Butler, who, if you're following other TV shows which are hot right now, plays Reggie on the Archie comics spin-off Riverdale, who unfortunately has been typecasted, even though he doesn't want to portray Asian stereotypes. He's a jock now in every TV show, apparently. His first 2 TV shows, and he's a jock. But yes, the acting is, I mean, you can't pull off a show like this, which deals with such an important social issue. And yeah, the show is such that it builds on, it's about the impact that this victim faces with every episode. It builds up, right? You see how she's impacted. The most important message of this show is not the suicide per se. It's the fact that we don't really know how people are affected by what we say, or how people are suffering, unless we actually reach out to them. And Catherine Langford really nailed this. I mean, I got to this point, like, say, maybe 6 episodes in, that, this was the basic point, because I am a little slow. But then I understood, too, that, man, this girl's performance, she's an Aussie or a Kiwi, as Anir once said, apparently, and, man, her performance is so important to this initially, I'm glad that Selena Gomez decided not to play the lead role, because I don't think she would have the acting chops to pull it off. And it's rounded off by a very good supporting cast. I mean, you really do hate the jocks and the gits and the bullies who do a lot of, bad stuff to her. But at the same time, they also have this other the other side of their story, which shows, what actually led them to be the people that they are. And each of these supporting actors also deserve a lot of kudos for the performance, man.
So the 2 characters that stood out for me, apart from the protagonists themselves, one was Kate Walsh as the mother. I mean, she was fantastic. Yeah. Her scenes were so painful to watch, because you could see the pain in her eyes, and she connected with her character so well that you actually felt really deeply for her grief in each episode, and it was so apparent that you wanted to console her. And the other character that I'll mention is, for a very different reason, it's Christian Navarro as Tony. He is playing a gay guy, but not in the traditional sense. It's so kudos for him to be able to break those stereotypes, that we always associate with gay characters. And this is a very strong gay character. It's not the effeminate gay characters that are usually portrayed on TV or movies. So I'm very glad that they actually have gone ahead and shown a character like this, and he fits in perfectly in that role as well. I think as the friend with an ulterior motive, I think he plays it very perfectly in that sense in the series itself.
For a portrayal of a villain, I haven't seen menace like this since any maybe Stephen King adaptations. Justin Prentice, who played Bryce, who was the main antagonist of the show, I mean, that guy was incredible. Like, you want to show how an asshole is, who just even doesn't realize that he's being a villain, who's being such an entitled person that he, talking about making objects out of women. This guy, lived and breathed that through his character. He was one of my favorites. Also, the portrayal of parents in grief, like the after effects of dealing with a kid who has just committed suicide. Kate Walsh and Brian D'Arcy James were so good in it. Brian D'Arcy James also was in Spotlight, and he played a critical role in that as well. And I love that actor. One of my favorite character actors, Mark Pellegrino, whom you might know from The Big Lebowski, or if you're a fan of Supernatural, he plays Lucifer. He played Alex Standall's dad.
Okay, right. And in the penultimate episode, there's a scene of a ambulance rushing through the streets at night. And the medic in the driver's seat, she says that he or she, I don't remember, says that we have a 17-year-old with a gunshot to their head. I mean, it's not explicitly mentioned who it is, but I assume that it was Alex Standall.
There's never any doubt that he shot himself. That debate is not there. Whether the fact that he was the one who pulled the trigger on himself is the part that I think Arindam and me, we are more in sync with. It seems like all the evidence posted in the penultimate episode, they point towards Tyler Down being more deviant than it is being led on. So it actually seems like, and he is the one who was playing with guns. Although Standall's character does have guns with him because his dad is a cop. If you remember, he tried to drown himself, but at the last moment he realized he couldn't go through with it. So I don't think he had the guts to pull the trigger in that sense. I think it is Tyler Down's character who has something to do with it, which is where Abhishek's thing that there's a lot of open endings on this one comes into play, which probably will be resolved if there's a second season. Though I agree with Abhishek when he says that there shouldn't be one. This is Hannah Baker's story, and it should be left alone.
Personally, I don't think that there should be a second season, even though it leads for frustrating endings. I think open endings make for the best of stories. Just look at Inception. Till this date, people, keep on arguing whether if he was living in a reality or not. So I guess these make for better audience interactions, and for years and years it just goes on. And creating a second season will just be overplaying their hand.
So yeah, as Arindam said, I think if they end it where it is, and anthology series work best, I feel, and if they end it where it is, not everything is resolved in real life, and this show, its attempt is to to reveal the issues of real life teenagers. And in real life, nothing is fully resolved immediately. Maybe people will realize something or the other, like 10, 20, 30 years in the future.
Right, you don't really need all the answers. And one thing which this show portrayed beautifully was that the narrator herself was unreliable. There were many parts of the story where you were wondering, wait, is she telling the truth? Because you could always see the story from one person's perspective, and then, like for example, it happened with her, told from her perspective as well. So you get a well-rounded arc as to what was happening. So this, I think, I've never seen this done so beautifully as in this show, because the narrator herself was not really, was coming off from one angle of the story. So granted, most of these people out there were assholes to her. So you never really needed to know why they behaved the way they behaved towards her or what they were towards her. But I think, the fact that Hannah herself had one particular angle that she was going for actually served the story and did not act much as a detriment as I thought it would be. Another thing which did not serve as a detriment was the amazing use of music. I mean, I remember the first episode, as soon as it ended with one of my favorite songs of all time, by one of my favorite bands of all time, Joy Division, and with Love Will Tear Us Apart. And I was hooked since then. I was like, this show has some fucking great music. But, it always serves your audience well when you use good music, when you use good actors. So that's about it. It's a huge thumbs up from me. I would highly recommend that you guys check it out. Let's start with you, Arindam. Would you recommend the show, and what's your rating? For me, it's an A.
Yeah, for me, this is an A as well. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it to everyone who is in school right now to watch it. It's a great show.
Yes, I would highly recommend this show, although, of course, with the warning about, how traumatizing and, some brutal scenes are involved. And also, I would recommend, the impact that this show had on me is similar to the impact that this is a teen genre movie, right? So the impact of another movie was quite similar. This is the movie called Bridge to Terabithia. It's a kids movie, actually, and I watched it when I was quite young. And if you like this, I recommend that you watch that show as well. That's all I'll say for now. And yeah, I would give this show a rating of 8.5, not 9.
Again, same reasons, I've already mentioned them. I'll give it an A.
Please ensure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon. The link is, of course, of our Facebook page, of course, is in our description. You can also, as always, find us on YouTube at youtube.com/IndianNerve, at Facebook at facebook.com/FilmGeeksPodcast, and on Twitter at twitter.com/IndianNerve, on Instagram at instagram.com/IndianNerve, or visit us at www.indiannerve.com/podcast if you want to check out our previous episodes. I would like to thank again all your listeners for your time. Please like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. And from all of us here, wherever you're listening to, we hope you're having a great day, and may the force be with you always. Bye-bye.